Church this past Sunday, you heard us introduce this song. I know the youth have introduced it before. It's called Battle Belongs. And I just wanted to play a little snippet of it as we prefaced our devotional this week. We're going into Judges, and in Judges chapter 6, we encounter a guy by the name of Gideon. And Gideon, to me, is like the Barney Fife of the Old Testament. You know, there's no such thing as good TV anymore, but growing up, we always watched reruns of the Andy Griffith Show, and I still love to watch reruns of the Andy Griffith Show. You know, Barney would always get himself into some situations where he was scared out of his wits, but Andy would always come to his rescue. Gideon's kind of like Barney. When it opens up here, we see Gideon threshing wheat in a wine press. And now, most of the time when you thresh wheat, it's out in the open so the wind can help carry away the chaff. But here Gideon is in an enclosed wine press doing this work of threshing wheat, so he's doing a whole lot more work than he has to. But that just shows you how scared he is of the oppression that he's under with the Midianites. And God comes to him and calls him to do something. And God calls him a mighty man of valor. And he tells them that he is supposed to basically save the Israelites from destruction and lead them. But Gideon is so timid and so unsure of himself that he puts some conditions on God. Now, he has actually been approached by what we would call a Christophany in the Old Testament, an appearance of the angel of the Lord, which we believe is the pre-incarnate Christ. And he knows this, but he forgets it, that God has actually come to him and called him to do this. So what Gideon does, and he does this 2 times, he puts out a fleece. And the first time, he asks God to show him his will by making the fleece wet and everything around the fleece dry. So he gets up the next morning, the fleece is wet, he actually wrings it out, there's enough to fill up a bowl. And he says, okay, God, but one more time, if you really want me to do this, I want to have the fleece be dry this time and dew be all around it. And so God answers his prayer. We know that this is totally against the teachings that they have gone through, because you are not supposed to test God. He's already been told what to do. He knew God's will. He just did not trust his own ability to do God's will. How many times do we find ourselves in that situation? Time after time, we are like Gideon. God, I know you've called me to do this. I know you've called me to go there. But I need that assurance, God. Just help me to find that verse of scripture that just comes out and tells me exactly what I need to do. Or Lord, help this to happen. If you want me to do this, let this over here happen. That is not what God has called us to do. We're to be people of faith. When we know in our hearts God has called us to do something, we're to go. We're not to question. And I hope that we will be strong faith people, not like Gideon. Even though everything came together for Gideon, he came up being a pretty good guy. But in the beginning, he was full of fear, and he let that fear cause him to do some things that he shouldn't have done. He put God to the test when that was not the way things were supposed to be done. So let's go forward in faith. Let's live our lives confident of what God has called us to do, confident of the direction that he's given us, and always let the battle belong to the Lord when he's called us. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Let that be your prayer as you go